Yo, what's up guys, Anthony here. Welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, my name's Anthony. I scaled my first branded dropshipping business to $1 million in its first year, and I've generated over $100 million in advertising revenue for Shopify brands. Now, if you clicked on this video, then it's probably because you read the title and you want to learn how to create upsell funnels. Now, the problem is, if you're someone who is running on Shopify, then you do not have access to the same layouts and funnels that you get on a platform like Funnelish. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't I just switch over to Funnelish and building stores there? Well, Funnelish has its own set of downsides. Now, obviously, one of the biggest upsides is that you can build these really comprehensive upsell funnels and downsell funnels where you have upsell 1, upsell 2, downsell 2, upsell 3, downsell 3, so on and so forth. And you can basically upsell infinite amounts of products, but you might want to handicap it at 4 or 5 because you'll start to piss some people off. But this is one of my competitors' upsell funnels on Funnelish. And let's say you're in a position where you're not really interested in building funnels. You want to build something on a Shopify site and you want something to look a little bit more branded, and you're just not interested in using Funnelish for whatever reason. Then in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to configure upsells inside of Shopify that are going to get you as close to this level of detail with your funnel as if you were on Funnelish as possible. Now, we can't do, and I can't promise that you're going to be able to replicate this entire thing, because the truth is there really is no integration with Shopify or app with Shopify that will allow you to do something as extensive as this. So if that's your expectation, then I'm not going to deliver on that in this video. But what I can promise is that you can get pretty darn close, or as close as possible. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. Because if your interaction with your customer stops on the order page or on the checkout page, or within Shopify on the cart or checkout page, and there's only one opportunity for them to buy, you are significantly missing out on doubling or even tripling your average order value from every customer that you interact with by not having an upsell funnel. And honestly, it's not even worth running a Shopify store if you're just going to run one offer. You might make some sales, you might be able to scale to a couple $1,000s a day, but you're never going to build sustainability in your business, because the second the acquisition costs go up on Facebook and you don't have an increase in the value to subsidize those costs, or in other words, offset the increase in the CPAs that you're inevitably going to see when you scale, then you're going to have to lower the budgets. You're not going to be as profitable, and eventually the store is just going to die out. And you shouldn't let the store die out. You should maximize the performance of the store by building upsells. So how do we actually build this? Now, this is a very long-winded rant that probably a lot of people dropped off within the first 3 minutes. So how do you actually build an upsell funnel that looks like this? Well, I use an app called One Click Upsell. And One Click Upsell is the cheapest upsell app. There are other upsell apps on the market, such as Aftersell, which is pretty good too. But in my opinion, One Click Upsell is the best bang for your buck in terms of just getting upsells on your store as quickly as possible for the lowest price. So what you have here in One Click Upsell, and this is exactly how I'm configuring funnels and teaching all my students inside of God to Ecom, which, by the way, first thing in the description. And basically what we're building here is a default funnel. So we add a new funnel and we configure a blank funnel. And when you do that, it's going to give you something that looks like this. And this kind of might look a little bit confusing, so I'm going to break it down here step by step. So when we're building an upsell funnel, the first thing that you need to decide is what's going to trigger people to see this funnel. And an upsell funnel you could think of as a series of opportunities to buy. And the trigger basically determines which sets of customers, and based on the actions they take, see which specific paths of upsells. So for any specific upsell, your default trigger is always going to be whatever your base product is. So in this setting here, I've chosen that as long as someone adds this product to their cart, then they will see this preceding upsell funnel that we're about to build. Now, you can get really fancy with the triggers. Let's say you only want your people to see this specific upsell funnel if they add a specific variant. And this can be useful if let's say you're selling a consumable, like in this case, and you want to build an upsell funnel that increases the average order value of people who decide they only want to buy one box. Because if someone only buys one box, your natural upsells are probably going to be to try and get them to do 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. Well, if you have, and that'll be useful because you might not necessarily want to try and upsell people on 3, 4, 5 additional boxes if they've already bought 5 boxes. They've already bought the maximum quantity, and that's usually more than enough to last them a couple months. So there's a very low likelihood that they'll add another set of 5 boxes. It does happen, but maybe let's say you want people to, after they buy the max quantity, see some complementary products. And so that's where setting the trigger based on the specific variants can be very useful. And you can really get into the nitty gritty in terms of the customization. And it's actually something that you can't do on Funnelish. So it is one of your advantages here. And there's all kinds of upsell funnels and triggers that you can mess with. The two that you're probably going to use the most are product and product variant, especially if you're just starting out. You can do things like item quantity and the total value and even location as well. But to be honest, majority of the times you're going to be focused on product and product variants. All right, so the first step in building on one-click upsell is going to be on a pre-purchase upsell. And this is the first step in our upsell funnel. And what a pre-purchase upsell is essentially an upsell opportunity that presents itself when someone adds to the cart. So pre-purchase, given the name, happens before someone has actually purchased. And this is really, really useful to put a really good offer in front of someone when they're not the warmest in the funnel that they are, because that happens when they've already made a purchase. That's when a customer is like red hot and primed to buy again. But you have to remember, add to cart is a sign of intent. So people add to cart when they show interest in an offer. And so it's kind of one step removed from the purchase, but it's still an indication of buying intent. And what that means is when someone shows buying intent, we can present them with an offer that will hopefully, or the goal of this offer is to get them over the edge, give them even more of a reason. They've already shown kind of a sliver of interest. Well, now that you've shown some interest, let me give you something that's irresistible, which is a really good offer. And so what I would typically do is I will pre-purchase upsell someone on the exact product that they're about to buy, but give them an even bigger discount. And so in this case, I have done a pre-purchase upsell that basically says you've been selected for a special one-time offer and you can add more patches to your cart and save up to 30%. So basically, if someone adds, regardless of the number of, as long as they have my product in their cart, regardless of the quantity, I am giving them an opportunity to add more patches to their cart and save an additional 30%. So you can also set this to replace the product that they have in the cart. So let's say someone buys 1 patch and you want to give them an offer on 5 patches, and you can set the trigger, you can configure the pre-purchase upsell so that way 5 patches will replace the 1 patch. But in this example, and how I built this upsell is I've set it up so this will add in addition to the product that they have in the cart. So it's not replacing anything. So pre-purchase upsells are extremely powerful, and you do not have access to this on Funnelish. You cannot do any type of pre-purchase. There's not really a pre-purchase upsell because there's just a sales page and a checkout page. So you can't really pre-purchase upsell because it just doesn't really exist. But this is honestly one of the biggest advantages in using Shopify and one-click upsells, being able to put offers in front of people that are really good before they even buy. So once we complete the pre-purchase upsell, your next step is to then configure the post-purchase upsell. And this would be the recommended flow that I say everyone starts out with, just as a default. And then from there, test and experiment and see what works for you. But we have a post-purchase upsell, and this is the first series of offers that they'll see after they have made a purchase. So they have to check out, and before they get to the thank you page, there's basically a few different paths of purchases of offers that they'll see. So post-purchase upsell offer number 1 is the first thing that they'll see, and I have configured this to be a 30% off offer, again, off the exact same product that they just purchased. And I would almost always recommend, unless you're selling a very high AOV product, and even then, I think it's still applicable, that your first upsell always be a more aggressively discounted version of your actual product. Especially in the case of consumables, people naturally will kind of logic themselves into thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to need more than 4 to 5 of these, or I'm going to need a couple months supply. I might as well get it while I'm here, and it's a really good offer. And they'll kind of naturally kind of sell themselves into that. And so upsell offer number 1, always recommend that you have a really aggressively discounted version of your base product. And you'll see here that I'm not using any of the buy boxes or anything like that. You can add information here. And if there was any information, I would always recommend that you focus on social proof and testimonials. That's really it, because you don't really need to sell someone on a product that they just bought. That's why you have a product page to do the selling for you. So I wouldn't even waste my time trying and sell. I just want to put a really good offer in front of people and have them buy. And I actually don't have an example of my my true one-click upsell on Funnelish. But on Funnelish, I do not have any like additional stuff because again, they just bought this product. So you don't really need to explain anything more about it. Just give them a really good no-brainer offer. So that's your upsell offer number one. Now, depending on what happens and what action your customer takes on upsell number one, because it is inevitable that they will see this. And then depending on what they do on this page will determine which path they go here. So if someone accepts the upsell, they're going to go into your upsell offer number two. If they decline the upsell, they're going to go into the downsell. So I want to talk about the downsell first. And a downsell is essentially an offer that you present to a customer, obviously after they've declined the upsell. And with a downsell, someone has already said no to a really good offer. And so you typically don't want to try and downsell them on something that's even more expensive. What I would recommend is if you have complementary products, use a downsell to push the complementary product. But let's say you're limited and you only have 1 to 2 or maybe even 3 products on your site, then I actually recommend you do an even more aggressively discounted version of upsell number one. So in upsell number two, in my downsell, I basically give them a last chance offer, but I'm only offering my lowest price variant. So in the first upsell, as you saw, they can buy basically a 5-pack at $39, which is still a really good deal because they're still saving 30%. But let's say they decline that. This is kind of like my half-court like buzzer beater. I'm just like throwing it up. Here it is. Let me just give you an offer, a really good deal, and I position it as a final offer. And if you buy now, you get $5 off. So they go from $19.95 to $14.95. And again, we're not trying to really sell aggressively. We just say this is your last chance to get this really good offer. So that's what I would recommend for a downsell. Typically your downsell, you want it to be a little bit less expensive than the upsell because they've already declined the upsell. So they have said no to a really good value proposition at a certain price. So you want to give them a lower price point that is a little bit easier to get into, right? A $14.95 addition to cart is a lot easier to justify than a $40 addition to the cart. So that's how you set up your downsell number one. And then your upsell number two, if someone takes a upsell number one, then you really want to sell them some complementary products. I would never recommend that you give them more of the same product because it's just too much of the same product. You need something different. So a complementary product, just pick something that goes really well with your base product and pick something that obviously goes well with your base product, meaning like you don't really have to think about it. So if I was selling shoes, I would do a cross sell for like insoles or like a shoe horn, something that like just goes with the product. You don't really need to think about it too much because you want to reduce friction and reduce the amount of selling that you have to do on this page because there's not a lot of selling that you can do. So it really helps if you have something that is immediately recognizable what it is and how it pairs with the additional product. And as you can see here, I have the text, wait, your order is not complete. Add a knee brace, not a knee braces, let's go like that and save that. Add knee braces for ultimate comfort and pain relief to your order. And it's very, very simple. We just have our product photo here. We have another really good offer. It's not showing the compare at price. So let me fix that really quick. Oh, I have the compare at price here. So it's just not showing, but you can add a discount here and go like, 30%. Right, something like that. And I actually even save that. So again, getting a 30%, and we'll say for 30% off, fixing it live. Okay, so in the upsell offer number two, you do want to have a little bit more selling information for all the reasons that I just said. Social proof typically works well. If you don't have photos of people using the product, then just use a review testimonial for the product description. That's what I would recommend, and I've seen work well. So now we have this upsell offer, and that is it. So you unfortunately can't do more than that. You can only have upsell one, upsell two, and downsell one. If you look at something like Funnelish, you can basically build, there's literally zero limit to the amount of pages that you can have after the checkout page. So it is unfortunate. Obviously, your competitors, if they're on Funnelish, are going to have a massive advantage because basically with Shopify, you get access to these 2 pages and that's it. And on Funnelish, you get access to these additional pages plus their downsells, and you can do even more. But anything more than like 5 to 6 is like, you're just gonna piss people off, man. You don't need that much. But if I was to build on Shopify, and if I was selling on Shopify, this is exactly how I would configure my upsell funnel. I would have a pre-purchase upsell that is just a very aggressively discounted version of my base product. And then my post-purchase upsell flow would be very simple. Number 1 is going to be a very discounted version of my original product. If they decline that, I will give them another discount, but this time on a lower price variant, and then which is more accessible. And then if they take the upsell number 1, my upsell number 2 is going to be a very aggressively discounted complementary product. And you can see very quickly, if someone takes, even 1 or 2 of these, that's a 2x, 2.5, or even 3x on your average order value. Now, granted, it's very optimistic to think someone's going to take your highest priced variant and then add the highest price pre-purchase upsell offer and then add all of them, but it does happen. And even if you get only 20% of people to take the pre-purchase upsell or 20% of people to take the post-purchase upsell, that's additional revenue that's added to your average order value that you're not having to pay for. So if your CPA, and I really want to leave you with this, if your CPA is $20, I don't know how people on ecom YouTube type on fucking Miro or write on Miro. It just blows my mind. So if your come on, brother. All right. If your CPA is $20, let's say your average CPA is $20, right? And let's say your average order value right now is 40, right? Let's take like a typical order. Like without upsells, this is pretty much where it would stop, right? Because without an upsell, someone's just going to go straight to the thank you page, right? If we get rid of upsells, you essentially have this, right? There. This is like 99% of dropshippers on Shopify. They just do this, right? There's literally no way to extract more value from your customer. You can't. And which is a shame because right after they've purchased, that is the highest level of intent. And like, that's why upsells work so well, because someone's already bought. It's like when you go to the counter at a Best Buy and there's all that candy up at the front, or how about this? They never ask you if you want to buy the warranty before you're at the counter. They always ask you right when you're at the counter, hey, do you want to add a protection plan for $19.99? And a lot of people take that because they're just like, fuck it, I'm already here. Right? So that you want the, fuck it, I'm already here, you want that to happen basically with your store. So if this is like your CPA, and we'll put CPA, that's your meta cost per acquisition. If you have a $40 average order value, right? Let's say very simply your gross profit is 20, right? That's your gross profit on $40 AOV if you have a $20 CPA. $20 is gross profit. Okay. Now, if you have an upsell, okay, let's say someone then takes the additional $39 of patches, right? So let's say they take the $39 offer, and we'll put a plus sign here. Okay. So now they have added the upsell. Let's say they decline everything else, but they've added an additional $40 in upsell. Okay. Let's just round this off to 40, right? They've added $40 to their cart in upsell offers. And so now, for the exact same CPA, that customer costs the exact same. You didn't even have to get more efficient on ads. And now, because you have $80 in a sale price, okay, because obviously 40 plus 40 equals 80. Now you're left, instead of $20 gross profit, now you have $60 gross profit. Okay? And nothing changed in the ads. We didn't test new ads. We didn't do anything. All we did was extract more value, because this revenue, you only pay for you don't have to pay again for that customer. You're paying one time for the customer. And if you have enough upsells, you're basically getting a buy two, get one, like you're getting 2 purchases for the price of 1. You're getting two transactions for the price of one. And when you do that, you stack more gross profit in your favor, which means more net profit to your business. Okay? All without changing ads. And that is why upsells are so important, and that is why I made this video. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this one, then make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the content as always and found this really valuable. If you did and you want to get access to more coaching and things like that, then God to Your Ecom, my private course community, is going to be linked in the description. We have the full masterclass in there, which shows you step-by-step exactly how to start and scale your first brand and dropshipping business to $1,000 a day. In addition to, I'm just going to pull up the, I don't know, I'm trying to freaking monologue the entire thing. So the full masterclass is in here, and it shows you step-by-step how to do everything that we talked about in this video, including configuring upsells, how to do product research, build the store, advertorials, funnelish, creatives, Facebook ads. Everything is in there that you need to get started and scaling, and weekly Q&A calls, and there's over $6,000 worth of bonuses, including one-on-one coaching calls if that's what you're interested in. So if you want access to the community, it's at an all-time low price. The price will be going up because we're trying to make a push to win the school games. So if you want to get access to the lowest price and lock that in before it ever goes up, God to Your Ecom, first link in the description. Plus, there's a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it. And on the off chance you hate it, you can get your money back. Yeah, that's basically it. That's my sales pitch for God to Your Ecom. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.